Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I have a holiday craft for you. We're going to make these mason jar luminaries. It's a great way to recycle some jars that you may have lying around, or I should say upcycle them into pretty decor. These would make lovely presents and lovely decorations. I'll be doing this class at my local library, so I thought why not film one too for those that couldn't come to the class, or maybe folks that want a refresher after taking my class. So here are some of the supplies we're going to use. We've got some white glue or Mod Podge, we've got some glitter, we've got twine and burlap, or you can use ribbon. We've got some cardstock, we've got some buttons. You can use whatever you want for embellishments. Jingle bells would work really well, and you can find those at the dollar store. I've got some paints. I have folk art enamels, I have berry wine, I have thicket, which is a dark green, I have coffee bean, and then I also have a bright red, and I didn't have any in enamel, so I'm using this Deco Art multi-surface, which works really well. Now honestly, for this project, since you're not going to be washing it, you could use regular acrylics, but I like to use these folk art enamels whenever I'm doing any sort of painting on glass or ceramics, because they just will withstand washing, and they're just a nice durable product. I also have a big brush for spreading glue, and I have a couple smaller brushes for painting. I have a liner, and I have, I would say it's a number 6 flat. It's about 1/4 of an inch wide. We're going to begin by, and I also have a white paint pen, but a white paint would be fine, and a Q-tip and a palette knife. I also have some embossing paste. You could also use clear latex caulking, just something for some faux snow. Or if you have Snow-Tex or any product like that will be fine. So really, you probably have a lot of things that you can you could substitute. So please do that if you have them. We're going to begin by, actually the first thing I like to do anytime I'm working on glass is I like to wipe down my surface with rubbing alcohol. I'm going to wipe down the outside and inside. And the reason I do that is because it removes any fingerprints or any grease or debris. Obviously, you're working with clean stuff, but it also just makes sure everything's going to stick. And if you've got a jar like this was like probably like a marinara jar, or maybe an Alfredo jar. Just something I grabbed out of the jar bin. I save all of our glass jars. Unfortunately, our town doesn't recycle anymore, but so I try to save all the glass stuff for reuse, either in craft projects or in food storage. So I'm going to go in and paint a coat of glue all over the inside here. Make sure you have a nice even coat of the glue. It can be kind of tricky to get it into these little corners here. You just have to wiggle your brush around a bit and make sure you've got a coating everywhere. And then you're gonna dump in some glitter. I like to use clear glitter. This clear ultrafine glitter is going to be really pretty, because then you can you'll be able to put like a battery operated tea light or battery operated fairy lights in here, and it will just kind of glow all over. You could put the lid on and shake it, but I'm just gonna give it a shake like this and see if there's any loose glitter. I think you could take a little bit more, honestly. Now you can collect any of the leftover glitter and you can put it back in the jar. So keep that in mind. This will take quite a bit of glitter though, so it's a good idea to, you know, have a good amount, especially if you're going to do this in like a class setting. The librarian's going to grab a big jar of clear glitter for this project, so we don't run out. Now I'm using a silicone mat here to protect my work surface. I will warn you that glitter sticks to that quite a bit, so when you're done, just spray it down and then wipe it with a paper towel, and you should be able to trap all that glitter. There we go. I think that's pretty well glittered. You can't really see until the glue dries, but once it dries, you're going to have a look like that. You're going to have that snowy frosted look in there. You see that? It's really pretty. Okay, and of course, if you don't want to do glitter, you could do Epsom salts. That would give you a very similar glittery look. So, so there's a nice option for you. All right, the next thing we are going to do, and this is kind of doing it in this order will make it go a little bit quicker, but if you're doing a bunch of these, you could do all of your glitter steps, all of the, you know, just kind of go step by step. I'm going to trim some burlap. Now since there's printing on the sides, I want to kind of cover up that printing. I'm going to do my painting up here around the top edge. And in a jar like this, you could actually do the top and the bottom edge if you want. So I need a piece of burlap that's at least this wide. So I'm just going to eyeball it here and just trim. And I'm just going to kind of find a row and just try to keep trimming right on that. Now burlap is kind of messy, so if you don't want to have like, you know, like those fibers and stuff, you could use ribbon. I like the frayed look of the burlap. It's a nice textured thing, so I'm going to use burlap. And then I'm going to pull some of the loose strings off so I get a nice frayed effect. Very easy to do with the burlap. You could also recycle, like if you had a, you know, rice sometimes comes in bags like that. That would be a great way to reuse that, to reuse a rice bag or coffee bag if you get your coffee and rice in bags like that. Now I'm going to overlap it about an inch. Let's see, I'm going to use this end because this end's a little bit neater. Overlap it about an inch and trim. And I'm going to glue that down. Got my hot glue gun here. Now, because burlap has an open weave, you want to be careful not to burn yourself. You could use little silicone finger cots to protect your fingers. Or just kind of like hold on a part of the fabric you're not gluing. See how I can hold it on the ends and just kind of pull it tight. The glue can seep through the weave of the fabric and not burn me. And we can put our embellishments over the over the seam there, so it doesn't, the seam doesn't really show. And you could decorate both sides if you wanted to. All right, so to make our embellishments, we'll do kind of like a little holly leaf type thing, kind of like that. So what I did to make those leaves was I just took a piece of paper and scored it, and then you're going to fold on the score, and this is something you can do ahead of time if you're doing a class. And then we're just going to cut. I'm going to use my scissors that I use for paper, so my ones that I use for fabric stay sharp. And I'm simply going to just freehand cut some holly leaves. You don't need any special dies. In fact, I think this is quicker than die cutting. And do one more. 3 looks really nice, I think. You could do these out of felt if you like as well, and that would be really pretty. And use whatever side you like the look of better. If you like the one with the, if you like it going, if you like the stem being, or the vein being a little more pronounced, you could do it the other way. And then I'm going to see what I want. You can use a couple small red buttons, or you could use a big red button. It's completely up to what you have on hand. This is a nice kind of a use up your stash type of craft. I'm going to take these leaves out so I don't get confused. I decided to go with 3 buttons that are each a little bit different. I think that's kind of cute. You can obviously match them up perfectly if that's what you prefer. I like kind of more of a bohemian type of look. Oops, I just tried to stick your fingers inside the jar. Or you can let that layer dry before you go in and do this part. I'm going to tie a bow just with some jute. This can be picked up at the Dollar Tree. Actually, I think this is from the Dollar Tree because it's that Crafter Square company. If you can't find it with the craft supplies, look in the tool section because they have it usually both places. Make your bow as big or as little as you want. And you can trim the ends a bit. Now because this is going to have like battery operated tea lights in there, you don't have to worry about it like jute and things like that you might want to use. I'm going to glue down our little leaves right on top of the bow. Make sure you know which way you want them to glue before you, because once you glue them down, they're going to stay stuck. And this will actually help tack the ribbon down a little bit too. And then we can put on our buttons. If you want to make the buttons, if you want to like thread them, you can take some of the leftover threads from your burlap and you could thread them through. It just gives it an extra touch. You don't have to do that, but it does look kind of cute, at least in one of the buttons. You don't have to do it in all of them. It gives it that like homespun type of look. You can also use, and trim that again to make it a little bit sharper. You can also use slivers of paper if you have some like that green paper left over. I'll show you that in a second. Trim off the excess. Put that button down first because it's a little bit more prominent. I like to put the glue down and then stick the button on it because I'm less likely to burn myself. I mean, just with one it's really cute too. If you want to do some green string, all you got to do is cut a sliver of your leftover green cardstock. And you can thread that through your button like so. It works really well. I love this for like getting a perfectly coordinated like look of thread. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing there. I know a button is so tiny it's hard to see that, but I'm just taking that really thin sliver of cardstock and feeding it through the holes on the button, and it's going to make a perfectly matched button. Now, I probably won't do it for the other. I'll leave the other one plain, I think, because I like the mismatchy look. Tear it off. I leave a little tail and I tear it off. And let's put that one right there. When I want to avoid strings, I do a little drop and then I just kind of twirl my glue gun while I pull it back, and that can help me avoid strings. And then at the end I can hit this with a heat tool or a hairdryer, and that will remove any additional strings. So this one I'll just put on plain. I think that will be cute. And again, just a little dab of glue there. And we're being serenaded by my daughter upstairs on the piano. There we go. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is a little bit of painting around the borders. You really only need a drop of this paint. A little goes a long way, and I've been using these folk art enamels for years. I've had these many, many years. I've done many projects and classes with these, and a little goes a long way. So, you know, keep that in mind. I'm glad they have a nice long shelf life because you're not going to go through them very quickly. I'm going to start by making I want it kind of a grapevine wreath look. So I'm just kind of making this kind of like a wiggly line, and this is really good, especially if you're teaching like senior citizens or anyone that might have like a little bit of like a wiggly hand. That will actually make it look better. So that works really well. You could also do like, because you might not have, if you're doing this in a class, maybe you're volunteering somewhere, if you don't have liner brushes, you could use like feathers, like dip the feather in the paint and do that, or even just using maybe even a toothpick to drag the line around. Don't be too fussy because this literally is a beginner craft, and it shouldn't, you know, it shouldn't be too fussy. Now the next thing we're going to do is make some leaves, and I'm using a small flat brush for that. Now I experimented, I'll show you a couple different examples here because I experimented. I was going to do kind of wiggly holly leaves and I didn't like how they came out, so I actually ended up painting over them, but like you can kind of see there and there, I kind of had like a little bit of a serrated leaf there, but I thought it looked too messy and clumsy on such a small area. So what I ended up doing was just a smooth leaf, kind of like a boxwood, just a very simple one-stroke leaf, and that's what we're going to do. I think it looks a lot better, and it's very beginner friendly. So you want to load up your brush, kind of like pull your brush through your paint, and try not to get the paint beyond halfway up the bristles. So if I hold it up like that, see how the paint is only halfway up the bristles? That's going to keep your brush strokes really nice, and it's going to keep your brush in great condition. And that's all we're going to do for our brush strokes. We're just going to press and lift as we drag. Now you might end up doing 2 coats here because you can see it does get a little bit streaky sometimes. So just kind of keep that in mind. You might need to go over and do another coat. Oops, that one doesn't look that good, but don't fret about it. And if you want to break this up into several, like, you know, several sessions, so you don't like stick your finger in your paint or anything, you could definitely do that. You could do like the glitter step, and then do the fabric, do the, you know, vine. Like you might want to do the vine and then wait and then come back. This actually could be done year round too. You wouldn't have to do this just for Christmas. You could do orange berries and make it more of like a fall to winter, kind of like bittersweet type project. You could leave it unpainted and you could just change up your embellishments on it. I think this is a great way to reuse glass jars, but then again, keep in mind that once you do this, your jar is not going to be recyclable anymore because you will have added like paint and glitter to it. But in our town, they no longer accept recycling, so all the jars get thrown away. So this is a nice way to make something useful out of it. A useful decoration or a gift. I think this would be fun for kids to make for their grandparents too, because it's so sweet and it's so easy and it looks nice, you know, it really does look nice when you're done. And by each time you load, you're trying to put the paint on the tip of the brush so that you're not, you know, the brush paint will do you no good if it's that far up on the bristle. All right, so that's pretty well full of leaves. Next, we're going to take a Q-tip and we are going to make some berries. And I like to do 2 tones, so I grab a little bit of the wine, a little bit of the bright red, and we're just going to dot. And these generally will give you like a little bit of highlight when you put them on, you know, because you get a little bit of a highlight in the center. You can put straight ones too. I think straight ones look nice. Oftentimes it's the simplest designs that look the nicest. If you see your application looks a little thin, you can go right back in and do another coat. That might be a little too dense, maybe not that many. Now if you want to do like a border around the bottom, I would wait until this top one was dry because otherwise you're not going to have enough space to hang on to it. I think that looks really pretty. Of course you can go in and fill in with any other, if you feel like you need another berry here and there, you go through and add what you want to add. Now the next thing we're going to do, we can actually do while that's still wet, just be careful not to touch it. I might do another border on the bottom. I think I probably will, just to show an example for a class. But the next thing we're going to do is add some snow. Now just be careful. Now I'm just going to do it now because I'm filming the video, but ideally I would let it dry and then I would go back in just so I don't end up touching it by mistake. So any sort of snow-like product, either Snow-Tex or caulking or embossing paste like I'm using here. It's all very similar. It's all like an acrylic type of paste. In fact, if you're doing a class, I think that caulking would work really well, like a tube of it. You could just squeeze out what each student would need on a piece of palette paper or wax paper. I think I might bring some, when I do this class, I think I might bring some coasters, like some just white plain tiles. We have a bunch left over from a home DIY project that we did a few years ago. And I think I might bring those because A, I want to use them up, and B, if, you know, because that much paint left over, you could paint like 4 coasters with that design on it, like a wreath of that design, and it would be really pretty. And it would be, you know, you could use up that paint and it wouldn't go to waste. All right, so there's our snow. You can have it go up over the lip if you want. Just kind of tap on some of the paste like that. Do use glitter, so I just will warn you. I know a lot of people don't like to deal with glitter. I love it. But then again, I also have a craft area separate from my main living area, so I don't have to worry about the mess so much. Okay, I think that looks nice and snowy. Scrape any excess back in the jar if you're using a jar product. Otherwise, if you have a tube of caulking, you're not getting that back in the jar. Now, I really like this glitter. It's called Diamond Dust by Twinklets. I'm not sure if that product is still around or not. But I am going to grab a piece of paper so that hopefully I can put whatever I don't use back in the jar, because I don't know if you can still get it. Well, any chunky glitter is going to be fine. Oops, I just got that in some paint. So I'll try just to put what I need and not any extra. And then I can pick up any of the extra. I can actually just kind of margarita salt it here. There, get that beautiful sparkly. Hopefully that shows up as beautiful and sparkly. But we're going to let this dry at this stage, and then we'll see how it looks at the end. I went out into the shed and I found the glazed white ceramic tiles, and they do make great coasters. I just painted this quick and easy wreath here, and the last step for the, and same technique as I did on the jars, and the last step for finishing off the jars, coasters, anything you want to do, is just add a little white highlight to the berries. It can be a little dot. I'm using a Posca pen just for convenience, but you can use white paint and like a toothpick just to dot on these little highlights. Same thing you're going to do to the jar. I just wanted to show you the just how the bottom, like I just did that same pattern on the bottom. I thought that was kind of pretty. And I'm just going to go in and add little spots for highlights on the berries. And that's all there is to it. I will leave you with some finished photos. These coasters here, even if you just want to do the coasters and maybe not the luminaries, these I think are like 14 cents at like any of your big box stores. They're just a little 4-inch, I keep wanting to say unglazed. They are glazed ceramic tiles. And then you just put some like felt pads on the back. You can get those at the dollar store. You can get them I'm sure you can get them at the home improvement store as well. They just be more expensive. Or you could cut up little pieces of felt and glue them on the bottom. But that's all there is to it. I hope you enjoyed this project. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you give it a try soon. Have a great day. Until next time, happy crafting.